Hello and welcome back. This webinar is Navigating Your Year of Service. I don't know why I spoke like that. It didn't sound very exciting. But it is the second session in your AmeriCorps VISTA pre-service orientation. We intentionally call it Navigating Your Year of Service because we want to review and clarify some of the benefits of VISTA service so you will know how to get the most from them. We'll also explore some areas of VISTA terms and conditions to make sure you don't get into trouble, and we'll share some sources of help and support for you to use throughout your year of service. These are all important elements to you and to your VISTA service so that you can successfully navigate through the year and become a VISTA alumni. As you probably remember from Tuesday, I'm Eric Powell.
And I'm Khadija Carr. We'll be your hosts today from VISTA headquarters in Washington, D.C. All right, so you are now in your third day as a VISTA member, which is super exciting. We hope it's going well and that you're off to a strong beginning. We expect that you are participating in a thorough on-site orientation and training during these first few weeks of VISTA service, and your supervisor typically leads this site-specific training to help you learn about your organization, how things get done there, and what you'll be doing as a VISTA member, and more about the community that you'll serve. You're likely also going to meet new people who may be a resource to you and start making connections. This session is all about you and how you can get the most out of your VISTA experience. By the end of the session, we hope that you'll be able to identify the benefits that VISTA has to offer, and these will support you during your service, and you'll be able to learn how to access them as well. We also hope that you will be able to describe the key terms and conditions of VISTA service and follow them. And we also would like you to be able to access the support you need to have a successful year of service.
So as you probably saw on the screen, you guys were just posting where you were serving on the map, which is great. It was just a quick activity to get you to understand where you were serving, and as you can see on the screen, we'll give you a few more seconds. If you look at the annotation tools in the upper left-hand corner of your screen, click on the one that looks like an arrow, because we know there's almost 400 of you serving, and we want to give you a chance so that you can see where the majority of your fellow VISTA members are serving. It's really exciting to see where across the country people are, and I see one person that looks like they're all the way in Washington, three people in Washington State, which is really cool.
Nice.
See,
got one person in Florida.
Yeah. Ooh, someone's in Alaska, Erica. Oh no, that's Hawaii, I'm sorry. I don't even know my geography.
It's like 2 people in Maine.
It looks like a good number of you are kind of in the Northeast and the South. A few people out in, I think it's Utah, and what's next to Utah? New Mexico, one of those states, 4 corners. So as you can see, we're going to move on in a second, but you can get a feel for where all of your VISTAs are serving. And it's really a great reminder that you can connect with each other on this map, but more specifically on the VISTA campus map, where you'll be able to message each other and see where you guys are serving.
During your 3-week PSO blend, you will intensively be using the VISTA Classroom website, which is separate from my.americorps.gov and the VISTA campus. The 2 main websites that you will use as a VISTA member throughout and after your year of service are the VISTA campus and MyAmeriCorps. My.americorps.gov is where you applied to your position. It's also where you did your direct deposit and where you can access your VISTA assignment description or your VAD. It is also where in a few weeks you will be able to access your living allowance statements. You'll also be able to request certain benefits and print your service letter from there as well. But we'll talk a little bit more about those later. The VISTA campus is where you completed your onboarding courses and tutorials, but the VISTA campus has much more than just tutorials that you completed before coming to PSO. There are also opportunities for ongoing learning and professional development. You can sign up for courses, find other VISTA members, and also learn more about all of your benefits. At this time, we're going to dive a little bit deeper into the VISTA campus and see what it has to offer, because it's very important that you get a chance to see all of the elements that the VISTA campus has to offer so that you can have some assistance in navigating your year of service They're building skills, obtaining professional development opportunities, and much more.
By now, you've, of course, already created your account on the VISTA campus. To make it easier for you to find the resources you need, we're going to take a look at how the campus is organized. We'll start with Life as a VISTA. That sounds like it should be a book. Interesting. You've already seen some of the resources here. You already completed the pre-service courses before you attended this PSO. We want to, of course, point out that the in-service resources will be useful for you while you are serving as a VISTA member. And as you see on the screen, with all the questions I am sure you probably have about various benefits, you'll want to refer back specifically to the Benefits of Service section for more details. This really is your reference guide for managing your year, getting help when needed, and learning new ways you can make and document your impact. You will also need to refer to the VISTA Member Handbook, your guide to VISTA policy, and a source of answers to many common questions.
The work heading provides online tutorials, readings, and self-directed learning on topics like working with volunteers, communication, fundraising, and more. The VISTA Program Area Resources section contains materials related to areas such as tutoring, mentoring, financial literacy, and education. So if your project relates to one of these, you'll want to look there. Some of this may be familiar to you already from a course you took or a training that you attended. Whether you are experienced in it or not, you should take a look at the other section and see that there are also additional resources around community development, project management, and so much more. These resources can help you successfully accomplish your VAD as well as help you in your future career.
In the Connect and Learn heading, you will find the VISTA forums with numerous discussion topics among fellow VISTA members, upcoming webinars, and of course, the fabulous VISTA online courses that we'll talk about in a minute. As we mentioned earlier, the VISTA map is also a great tool to connect VISTA members and alumni serving in your area or across the country.
It's important to know that PSO is really just the start of your learning process as a VISTA member. You'll receive an invitation to a webinar called Planning Your Professional Development, which will help you develop a concrete plan for gaining the knowledge and skills you'll need to succeed. This Planning Your Professional Development webinar is not an official part of the PSO blend, but it is a webinar that all VISTA members attend soon after PSO to get you thinking about growing within and beyond your service year. Your session is scheduled for October 4th at 2 p.m. Eastern. Plus, every month, the AmeriCorps VISTA program offers you webinars on a range of topics related to life as a VISTA. Such webinars include Living on the Living Allowance and using the Siegel AmeriCorps Education Award, and topics related to the work of VISTA, such as building a digital ad campaign and strategizing your funding search. We record these sessions and offer them as webinars on demand. So if you miss a session, you can go back and watch it at any time.
We also offer 2 optional courses to VISTA members. One is on volunteer mobilization and one on resource development. The courses combine the training you received during your pre-service orientation with live webinars, online discussion groups, readings, and assignments. The courses are completely free, and if you pass, you can receive college credit recommendations. These 2 courses are not part of the PSO blend, but you are welcome to apply for free because space is limited. They will help you with your VAD and your professional development goals. Again, if interested, you'll see an Apply Now button on the VISTA campus where you can click to apply. You will also receive an email when the next round of course offerings is available, which is slated for winter of 2018.
The Member Handbook is the one place you can reference for VISTA policy, including your terms and conditions, laws and regulations, and more. You will want to review and be familiar with these policies. As you look at the handbook, the left column allows you to quickly find a specific chapter. If you have not done so already, take a little time to familiarize yourself with the information in the Member Handbook. Here's a pop quiz. Post in the chat now if you think you know how much leave VISTA members receive for their full year of service. This information can be found in the Member Handbook, and it is important for you to know how much leave you have and how to record your hours and leave with your supervisor. Also, it's important to remember that you and your supervisor keep track of your hours and leave using the timesheet or method your supervisor gives you. So I'm going to pause for a second to give you all a chance to weigh in.
It looks like for the most part, people are pretty much on track. I see a lot of 10s, which is good. There might be some confusion, but 10, 20, 10, 10. So it looks like they're on the right track.
Yeah. Yeah, so it looks like everybody's on the right track for sure. The official answer is that you only receive 10 sick days, which can only be used if you are actually sick. There's also 10 personal days, which can be used as vacation or as additional sick time if it's needed. What a lot of you didn't know is that there are 5 emergency days, and those are only available if someone in your immediate family passes away or is seriously ill. All leave requests must be approved by your supervisor, and I'd suggest you request it in writing so that it's tracked, and you should also let your state office know if you will be using an emergency day.
And I see a question that came in, where is the Member Handbook, or where's the link to it? If you go to the vistacampus.gov website, you'll find it. You can literally just type in Member Handbook, and you will find a link to the direct place on the website. Taking a quick note before we move on, we know that we ask all of you to log into the webinar individually, but in some cases there are some people that had to log in as a group. So if you are logged in as a group, meaning there's multiple people joining on one computer and one login, please take the time now to post in the chat panel the names of all those people joining along with you. And that way we can give you credit for joining this webinar. So let's move on to talk about a topic that's a little bit more exciting, even though I know you guys love the VISTA Member Handbook, but let's move on. As a VISTA, there are many benefits available during your year of service. Some of them are available to you after you complete your service. As you've seen, this page of the VISTA Member the VISTA Campus, contains an overview of almost all of your benefits. Some benefits, like the living allowance, are available to all VISTA members. Other benefits may only be useful for some of you, such as child care assistance. We will now take a look at a few of these that tend to generate questions from VISTA members. Your PSO Blend workbook was sent to you last week, and the link to the workbook has been posted into the chat. We recommend keeping this workbook handy and taking notes in it throughout the PSO Blend, as we will reference various pages in the upper right-hand corner of the screen. It is also helpful to have this workbook available during your year of service, as it provides quite a bit of detail about your benefits and your terms and conditions of VISTA service.
You might be interested to know when you'll receive your first living allowance payment. So when exactly will you be receiving that first payment? All right, so the answer is, it is scheduled for October 6th, 2017, unless you are paid by a grant, and you will need to check with your supervisor for your pay date if you are paid by a grant. Please note that even though we issue the payment on October 6th, the date the money shows up in your bank account is completely up to your bank. For some of you, it may not post to your account until Monday, which is October 9th, and also a federal holiday. So that may appear on Tuesday, October 10th. So just keep an eye out for that. You are starting service in the middle of a pay period, so the living allowance you'll receive on October 6th, and it will also be only for 19 days of service. After that, you'll receive pay for a normal 14-day pay period on October 20th and into the future. Please note that if you were approved to relocate for service, your settling in allowance will be included along with your first living allowance payment on October 6th. The living allowance schedule can be found on page 25 of your PSO Blend workbook, as well as on the VISTA campus. And that link will be in the chat soon. Thanks so much, Joanne. All right, so I do want to quickly mention that you are paid every 2 weeks, which is not the same as twice a month. With your monthly amount, you can do the math to determine how much will appear in your bank account every 2 weeks before taxes. Because state taxes are not deducted, you need to determine what you owe to the state that you are a resident of. We suggest you check with your state's tax office to figure that part out. If you don't know what the amount of your living allowance is, you should ask your VISTA supervisor first. If they don't know, then you may ask your state office, and you can also call the National Service Hotline, but do it in that order. So again, that order is your VISTA supervisor, and then your state office, and after that, the National Service Hotline. You can also view the living allowance rates by county document, which is also on the VISTA campus, to determine your living allowance amount, and use the county where you are serving to be able to figure that part out. You can access your living allowance statement in my.americorps.gov. From the benefits page of the campus, you can access the living allowance page. Click on the Resources tab to access resources. Find out more information about your living allowance and to learn how to live on the living allowance. There are resources for you to help you cut costs, provide you tips on how to live on the living allowance, and calculate your own budget. VISTA members also discuss how to manage a budget, save money, and capitalize on valuable resources on the VISTA campus forums. This, once again, highlights the important support you can provide to each other. You are paid through direct deposit, which means the money automatically appears in your bank account every 2 weeks. Please make sure that you entered your bank account and routing numbers correctly in MyAmericorps. Otherwise, your living allowance will not arrive, and it could be weeks before you're paid. The routing number and account number are on your checks, and they may also be found on your bank's website. But make sure you select the correct one because each bank has multiple routing numbers. You probably know this already, but the account number on your debit or credit card is not your checking account number or routing number, so please don't enter that. Also remember, only you can check to make sure you've correctly entered your specific routing and accounting numbers. We've had people who were certain that they entered it correctly and then later realized that they entered the wrong bank account number or that they didn't use the correct routing number. I would recommend that right after this webinar you verify that the information is correct so that you get paid on time. Also related to the living allowance, we typically get a lot of questions about public assistance, and we wanted to give you some important information. If you apply now or at any time during your service to enroll in SNAP, formerly known as food stamps, your living allowance and other VISTA payments will be counted as income in calculating your eligibility and benefit level. Remember that SNAP is a federal benefit that is not administered by AmeriCorps VISTA. So they have their own rules and regulations that they factor in order to determine who is eligible. For most other public assistance benefits, if you are applying for new benefits, your living allowance should not be factored in when determining the level of benefits you receive. If you are already receiving SNAP benefits, TANF, LIHEAP, or other public assistance benefits prior to enrolling in the VISTA program, your living allowance or any other payments you receive from the VISTA program should not affect the level of assistance you receive. Public benefits are managed by state or local entities, and CMCS is not involved in how they are administered, so you'll want to speak with a caseworker for advice. In about 2 weeks, you will be able to print a service letter from your my.americorps.gov account citing the authority for income disregard. Okay, so I just reviewed a ton of information regarding the living allowance that you received during service. I also want you to remember to refer to the benefits page of the VISTA campus for more details about any of your benefits. And I also recognize that we've probably generated a ton of questions about this specific benefit. So at this time, I'm going to pause, and as we go throughout the presentation, we'll answer a few questions on each subject, understanding that we may not be able to get through all the questions at that time. So at this time, I'll invite our operator on the line to give us instructions on how to ask a question by phone. Melinda?
Thank you. And to ask a question, please press *1. Please unmute your phone and record your name clearly at the prompt. To withdraw your request, please press *2. 1 moment, please, for the first question.
And thank you, Khadija. That was a wealth of really, really good information. I see a couple of questions came in. I'll answer one of them that I see. Someone had said, I applied for SNAP but haven't heard anything back. Just to reiterate what Khadija said, SNAP is not a benefit administered by the VISTA program, so if you haven't heard anything back, you need to follow up with the person you applied with or the SNAP office, because they are the only ones who can determine if you receive SNAP benefits, and if so, how much. The next thing I'll address, because I know it's been a hot topic, several people are saying, we thought we were getting paid 2 weeks earlier on a different date. And, oh, I thought the member handbook said we were getting paid on such and such a date. The short answer is, yes, you started service on September 12th. And even though you entered service in the middle of a pay period, the challenge is our amazing VISTA member support unit needs some time. When you literally have 400 people starting service, it takes a decent amount of time for them to actually activate you and get you all up to speed in our system. So part of it's that, and part of it is just because of the way our pay period works. You'll get paid on October 6th, and we wish we could make it sooner, but it's just the way it works. So hopefully you'll be able to, I saw someone said that their rent is due sooner. Maybe you can borrow some money or see if you can get someone to temporarily loan you money in that time to make sure that you are up to speed. Melinda, while we take a look at questions in the Q&A, are there any questions that are queued up on the phone?
At this time, we are showing no questions.
Okay. So Imani asks, how long does the living allowance approval take? There actually is no approval specifically for the living allowance in terms of getting paid every 2 weeks. Once you're approved to be a VISTA member, which at this point you are, you'll automatically get paid every 2 weeks. You don't need approval to get that biweekly living allowance. Someone else asks, is the living allowance and your actual pay two different things? No, your living allowance is the same thing as your pay. Thanks for the clarification, Imani. So if you are approved to relocate for service, you will also be getting a settling in allowance. That will come in addition to your living allowance on October 6th. So for those relocating, on October 6th, you'll get your 19 days of pay plus the settling in allowance.
I'm seeing a question, what do you mean by getting paid by a grant? So grant members are paid by their project, their individual site, and people who are paid not by grants are paid by CNCS or through the AmeriCorps VISTA program itself. And
I posted something in the chat earlier. I will quickly send an email after this webinar to those people who are paid by a grant, so that way if you get an email from me this afternoon, you'll know you need to follow up with your supervisor. And if you don't get an email from me, then it means you're not paid by a grant. We'll take one or two more questions and then we'll move on because we do have a lot more to cover in this webinar. I see a question about, can we clarify how the service letter is related to applying to benefits? There are 3 service letters that will be available to you. One of them is called Currently Serving, which basically states, I'm Eric Powell. I'm a VISTA serving from September 12, 2017 to September 11, 2018 to prove you're serving. The other 2 benefits are related to income disregard. So again, with SNAP and other benefits like SNAP, they may count your living allowance against your benefits, but if you were already receiving public benefits before joining VISTA, those government benefits should remain the same. I think Just looking to see if there's any other quick questions we can answer over the phone before we move on. Someone asked about relocation. If you were approved for relocation from the VISTA Member Support Unit, then they'll be sending you an email with instructions that you'll need to print a voucher and send it back to get reimbursed for your relocation travel allowance. And then I think the last question we'll be able to take is, oh, this goes back to another question. When will a service letter be available to download? Again, because of the time it takes to activate people, it should be available in your account within the next 2 weeks. You'll see a new link on the left-hand side that says My Service Letter, and you'll be able to access all 3 of the service letters available for you. Does the pay from AmeriCorps VISTA count as income? Yes. Your living allowance is considered income, so you would have to report it as income. We'll talk about health care in a minute, so we'll ignore that question just for the second. And then the last question is, how much do full-time VISTA members receive? It's based on the county where you're serving. So earlier there was a link posted in the chat, and you can also find it on the VISTA Campus Benefits page that shows the living allowance rates by county. So you can ask your supervisor how much you're getting paid, or you can go to that specific link to find out how much you're paid based on the county you're serving in. And I know there's a lot more questions coming in. Our fabulous staff behind the scenes will work on answering some of those. The more general ones, if we have more time at the end of the presentation, we'll get to. We're going to move on to another topic that people have already started asking questions about, and that is healthcare. We certainly understand that healthcare is a very important topic and that we all have very different needs around healthcare. We will give an overview of the VISTA Healthcare Benefit Plan and talk a little bit about what's available to you. And we'll answer general questions, but to protect your privacy, we'll refer specific questions to our benefits provider. To get us started, we'll have a really quick anonymous poll to give us a sense of what type of health care coverage you might already have. We'll have the poll open for a few seconds after we finish explaining it. And if you're on a smartphone or a tablet, you will not be able to do the poll, which is not really a problem. We really want you to choose the option that best applies to your situation. Maybe you have your own private insurance coverage. Maybe you're currently on a parent or a spouse's plan. You may currently have Medicaid, Medicare, or a tribal plan, or be on a VA, TRICARE, or other veterans plan. Some people don't currently have coverage but need to get it, or there might be some other situation. So we'll give you another 10 seconds just to quickly make your selection and submit it. Again, this poll is anonymous, so you don't have to worry about, we're not tracking it, we're just getting a general idea of how we can make this information most useful for you. We know that some people are very experienced in navigating the healthcare industry, while others do not even know how it works or why it's important. The VISTA healthcare benefits are evaluated on an ongoing basis to determine if anything needs to or can be changed, so your responses to polls such as this are helpful, even though they don't necessarily guarantee any changes. So we'll wait just a second for the results of the poll and see what it looks like the majority of the 300+ people of you decided. It's just taking a little bit of time.
Wow, that's a ton.
Wow.
So 36% of you said, my parents' or spouse's plan is the type of coverage that you have.
Wow. That's really good.
That's quite a lot.
So yeah, that information actually helps us not just in this webinar, but in the future as we talk about the healthcare benefits available to you, especially since, as Khadija said, the majority of you do have your own health insurance through a parent or a spouse's plan. So to go into a little bit more detail, the Affordable Care Act governs access to health care and insurance, and its provisions apply to everyone, including you as a VISTA member. You are required to have insurance unless you are exempt. What makes someone exempt? Well, exemptions are available based on a number of circumstances, including certain hardships, some life events, health coverage or financial status, and membership in some groups. To find it if you qualify for an exemption, you need to visit healthcare.gov and search exemptions. Most of you probably are required by the ACA to have health coverage, and based on what you said in the poll, most of you do already have coverage. If you do not currently have coverage, here's what you need to do. First, go to healthcare.gov and find out if you qualify for an exemption. If you do not qualify for an exemption, then you can use the healthcare.gov website to find coverage. You can also seek assistance from a healthcare navigator to help you navigate the process of finding health coverage. So let's go into a little bit more specifics to help you guys understand really what this benefit is all about. Here are the options available to you, and only one of the options would fit your specific situation. If you do have health coverage, as most of you do, you are eligible to enroll in the VISTA Healthcare Allowance, which provides a reimbursement of up to $7,150 for qualifying health care expenses. This is limited to essential health benefits, so elective and/or cosmetic procedures may not be covered. We did set the allowance at $7,150 because this is the maximum out-of-pocket expense any American will occur in 2017. You can use the healthcare allowance towards your annual deductible or co-insurance costs, co-payments for office visits or prescriptions, simply to buy prescriptions themselves, or for routine dental care and limited vision services. The allowance, however, will not reimburse you for the cost of buying health insurance or for paying monthly premiums. On the other hand, if you are legally exempt from the Affordable Care Act from having to maintain insurance, you are eligible to enroll in the AmeriCorps VISTA Health Benefit Plan. This is a safety net plan that covers basic health care needs, such as doctor's visits, lab tests, hospitalization, emergencies, prescriptions, some out-of-pocket expenses, and other basic medical expenses. It also includes some routine dental care and limited vision services. Both of these benefits are administered, as you can see at the bottom of the screen, by the International Medical Group, also known as IMG. To receive a benefit, you must enroll. There is no automatic enrollment. You must make your selection on the AmeriCorpsVista.imglobal.com website at the bottom of the screen. You will be able to enroll approximately 1 or 2 weeks from today, and you will have 60 days from the time you begin service to enroll in a benefit. However, note that even though you have 60 days to enroll, other health care coverage applications might take weeks or months to be processed. So in order to not miss the 60-day deadline for AmeriCorps VISTA Health benefits, we strongly recommend you complete your application for other health care coverage immediately and within the first 30 days of service, you have time to meet the 60-day deadline. Another reminder, you cannot have both benefits. You will qualify for only one of these benefits. So, we've just reviewed a lot of information regarding healthcare, and we see a lot of questions coming into the chat. Remember to refer to the benefits page to get more information, and you can also go to vistacampus.gov/healthcare for additional information. With all the questions we have, I'll once again ask our operator, Melinda, to give us instructions on how to ask a question by the phone. Melinda?
Thank you. Once again, please press *1 at this time to ask a question. One moment, please.
So I see, and I apologize, I don't know if I answered this question very well, but someone tried to enroll in IMG earlier, but it didn't work. That's because, again, it takes a week or two for all of these things to be officially activated in our system. So I would say give it a week and try again. If it doesn't work, wait a few more days, but the IMG will be sending you an email with more instructions to enroll, so you can also wait for that email, and at that point, you'll be able to actually go in and create your My IMG account.
I'm seeing a question, what if you don't need health insurance? Can that projected allowance be added to your living allowance?
That would be wonderful, and I greatly appreciate the question. Unfortunately, no, that $7,150 is only available for healthcare needs. I will also, and thank you, Khadijah, for that question, I will also say, even if you have health coverage or health insurance that's amazing and covers everything, there's no negative situation for you joining our healthcare allowance. So that way, if for some reason you get a prescription and your health coverage doesn't cover it, that $7,150 could be used to reimburse that prescription. But it does have to be used specifically for healthcare expenses. Someone was asking a question specifically, how do we enroll/get reimbursed for the expenses? Once you get the email from the International Medical Group and they instruct you on how to create your account online, There will be information in there. Typically, they ask you to upload receipts, but all the information will be in that My IMG account that you get an email to within a week or two.
Let's see, I'm seeing what options are there for eye and dental insurance costs?
So both of the plans we talked about, if you have insurance, you can do the Health Benefit Allowance, which is the reimbursement of up to $71.50, or if you are exempt, you can do the Healthcare Allowance. Both of those do have limited dental and vision coverage. And just to give you really quick ideas, the limited dental coverage could be routine dental coverage such as oral exams, x-rays, fillings, the emergency alleviation of pain. And the limited vision coverage might be able to cover something like an annual eye exam or a complete pair of glasses, one per year. So more specific details can be found contacting IMG, but that gives you a general idea of what it covers. Someone asked, do I have to enroll in the benefit just to get the allowance? Yes. In order to be eligible to receive the reimbursement of up to $7,150, you do have to enroll. Again, wait for the email from IMG, and everything should be taken care of from there. Do we have to pay anything for the healthcare allowance? That's a complicated question to answer, so I will answer it by saying, in most cases, you will have to pay out of pocket for something and get reimbursed later. But we have this pocket of $71.50 available to you for free. You don't have to pay anything additional to use it. Just be aware it is a reimbursement. It's not given to you up front. What is the earliest you can apply for health care? If you do not currently have health care, you can apply since your first official start date in VISTA was September 12th, 2 days ago. You should be able to go to healthcare.gov and start searching and applying for health care immediately. You don't have to wait the 30 or the 60 days. The sooner you apply, the better, because as we said, it could take a couple of weeks for that application to be processed. Looking at a few more questions. Melinda, do you have any questions on the phone?
We do have two questions. First one from Lydia Bennett. Your line is open.
You actually already answered my question. I was asking how I would get reimbursed for medical expenses.
Okay. Thank you, Lydia.
The next question from Shannon Williams. Your line is open.
My question is, does this cover families like our children?
That's an excellent question. The VISTA, all the healthcare benefits are only for you as a VISTA member. So, no, it would not cover family.
Okay. No further phone questions at this time?
Okay. We're just quickly scrolling through the Q&A because there's a lot of them coming in. Again, if you're not sure where to apply, wait for the email from the International Medical Group, and it'll send you to the AmericorVista.IM Global website to apply for it. Am I going to be reimbursed for a copay that I had to pay before being able to sign up for IMG? So the healthcare benefits are available for and during your year of service. So if you had any medical expenses between your start date of September 12th this year and September 11th this year, then yes, the reimbursement would be able to take care of that, provided it's approved by IMG. But anything that happened before you started as a VISTA would not be able to be covered. One other question I see that might be applicable to people is, how do I apply for health insurance if I haven't yet been paid by AmeriCorps? The answer to that is you can certainly apply. A lot of healthcare providers on the marketplace, healthcare.gov, there's not necessarily an application fee. You can usually apply, and you don't necessarily have to pay right away until they determine if you're approved. So you should still go ahead and apply, even though your living allowance hasn't come yet, and then they'll be able to let you know when your first monthly premium would be due. Melinda, one last check before we move on. Any questions that came in on the phone?
No questions at this time.
Okay. So again, I know there's a lot of questions coming in, and we'll try our best to answer them as we go through, but we are going to move on to the next benefit so that the rest of our staff can answer them in the Q&A, and we'll get to more questions at the end of the session as well.
All right. right, so at this time we're going to talk about end-of-service benefits. So after successfully completing your service, you are eligible for one end-of-service benefit, and that is either the Siegel Education Award or the cash stipend. And an important note really quick, the word stipend is usually in reference to the end-of-service cash stipend, whereas your biweekly pay is referred to as your living allowance. You will only receive one of these end-of-service benefits in addition to, not deducted from, your biweekly living allowance. So for that education award, here are a few quick facts. The education award is good for 7 years after completing service. The education award is also taxable in the calendar year or years that you use it. You can use all of your education award at once if you wish, but you may also choose to use it incrementally. If you select the education award, in about a week you will have a new link in your my.americorps.gov account, which will be labeled My Education Award. And this is where you'll see details of the education award and be able to submit education award payment requests at the end of your service year. The education award can be used to pay off federal loans or to pay for education at any title or institution, which is an institution that accepts federal funds. You would submit all of the education award payments through your my.americorps.gov account. And if you are selecting the education award and are interested in furthering your education, you should check out the list of institutions that match the education award or provide another benefit to AmeriCorps VISTA alumni. There will be a link posted in the chat that will show you those matching institutions. The other end-of-service benefit is the cash stipend. The cash stipend is paid out via direct deposit, and that will be at the very end of your service. And the cash stipend is also taxable in the calendar year that it is received. Remember that if you have selected the education award now and want to change the cash stipend, you can do that any time prior to your 10th month of service. But if you have selected the cash stipend, you are unable to change your selection. Related to the end-of-service benefit is student loans. There are ways that you can postpone repayment of federally backed student loans during your service year. If you chose the education award, you can request federal loan forbearance, which means that upon approval, you are not required to make monthly loan payments during your service year. Also, if you complete your term, you can request the National Service Trust to pay off the interest that your loan accrued for that year. Be aware that the interest payment is considered taxable income. Forbearance is processed through the My Education Award link that will appear in your myamericorps.gov account in about 1 or 2 weeks. Remember that forbearance is not guaranteed, and you must initiate the process by submitting a loan forbearance request in your MyAmericorps account. If you selected the end-of-service stipend, you may request loan deferment, and you do so by applying to your lender, giving the reason of economic hardship. For federally subsidized loans, accrued interest may be paid by the Department of Education if the loan is deferred. Check with your lender for specifics. Not all lenders may offer loan deferment, and for those that do, the loan deferment is not guaranteed. Perkins loans may also be partially forgiven if the VISTA member elects to receive the cash stipend. So go to edaward.org to learn more. I'll also briefly mention 2 more programs to consider to help you manage your student loans. And please note that you may be able to do both at the same time. The first program I'll mention is income-based repayment, which adjusts your monthly payments based on your income. As a VISTA member, your payments will be pretty low and can be as low as $0. It won't reduce the amount you have to pay back, but it will shrink your monthly payments to a manageable amount. This income-based repayment plan is something that you would have to set up directly with your loan lender. The other strategy works really well in concert with the first, and this is the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program. If you have federal loans and are considering working in the nonprofit, government, association, or education sectors, you'll want to learn about this program. If you work for a minimum of 10 years in public service positions and make 120 qualified on-time payments during this time, any balance on your federal loans is forgiven after making 120 qualified on-time payments. Remember that your loan lender determines what is considered a qualified payment. You apply for this at the end of 120 payments, but you'll want to learn now about the type of records that you'll need to keep in order to apply. Of course, there are a lot of details about both of these, and you can learn more about them at nationalservice.gov/resources/education award. For more details on everything we just covered, go to Education Award tutorial, which is at nationalservice.gov/resources/edaward. You can see it on the screen. Please write that down. This is a very, very helpful website. And you can also go to my.americorps.gov, and this is where you submit your federal loan forbearance request with CNCS. Remember that it is your responsibility to submit the forbearance request and check on its status. At the end of your year, it is also your responsibility to submit any education award payment requests, as well as interest accrual payment requests. Okay, so that was a mouthful. And again, we want to give you all time to ask any questions that you may have regarding this topic. I'll invite our operator, Melinda, on the line again to give us instructions on how to ask questions via phone.
Once again, for your phone questions, please press *1 at this time. One moment, please.
That's my voice trying to tabulate results.
Also, please continue to ask questions in the Q&A panel.
One question is, I think the question was, where do we submit all these forbearance requests? As Khadija said, it's all done through my.americorps.gov. And again, it'll be about a week or two before you have access to that. And it'll be in a new link called My Education Award. So let's see. Is forbearance for 12 months from the time of application or for 12 months during VISTA service? For example, if you apply for forbearance in January, it will be the rest of your VISTA term. So we strongly recommend that if you're interested in loan forbearance, you apply immediately. There's no sense in waiting until January. So go into, as soon as you get the link in a week or two in My AmeriCorps, request forbearance, and if it's approved, it'll take effect for your entire year of service.
On that note, I'd also say that if you have both federal loans and Perkins loans, which are paid directly to your college, that you want to make sure that you're entering both of those providers so that you aren't having additional loans out in limbo that are not accounted for. Seeing another question, what can I use my education award on?
There are several answers, but I'll answer it quickly. One, some people use it to pay back federal student loans. Two, you can use it to pay for future education at any Title IV institution, so any institution that accepts federal funds, which could be formal education, or sometimes there's other alternative educational environments that you can use it for, but just make sure it's a Title IV institution. And as Khadija said earlier, there's also that matching institution's website, so you can find out what other benefits the Education Award has for you.
When will we receive the cash stipend if we've chosen it? You receive the cash stipend in your last 2 paychecks, and that's once you've already completed service.
Melinda, are there any questions on the phone?
We do have one question from Terry Alford. Your line is open.
Hi. I would like to know if PLUS loans are able to be, the forbearance or the deferment, if that will apply to any PLUS loans?
So I'll answer it by saying the student loans that we can put in forbearance through AmeriCorps VISTA, the National Service Trust, are any federal student loans. So if it's a federal PLUS loan, then yes, you should be able to request forbearance through my.americorps.gov.
Thank you.
And again, you do it on the website, and if there's any questions, the National Service Trust would either email you or you would see the status in your MyAmericorps account that said accepted or denied, and it would show you the reason so you could track it from there.
Do VISTA leaders get the same education award or cash stipend, or do they get more? So the education award amount is the same whether you're a VISTA or a VISTA leader. However, the cash stipend is $3,000 if you are a VISTA leader. And that cash stipend is direct deposited.
And a really quick note on that, if you don't know what a VISTA leader is, your organization might have a VISTA leader, but it's a great way after having served for a year to do VISTA again and have more of a leadership role where you can actually help manage and train VISTAs. Public Service Loan Forgiveness, or PSLF programs, require proof of AmeriCorps service. So basically, if you need proof of service, again, you can print your currently serving service letter from your my.americorps.gov account. That letter will show the dates of your service. It will not show the actual amount of your living allowance, but you can either get that from your living allowance pay stubs in MyAmericorps, or you can ask your supervisor since they also know how much you're getting paid.
Also, a quick note on the education award. This is an award that cannot, unfortunately, be transferred to another person.
I have loan forbearance from my previous AmeriCorps term. Can I reapply next May when my first appearance expires? So we in AmeriCorps, VISTA, and the Corporation for National and Community Service do everything by service terms. So if you were previously serving in AmeriCorps and you had your loans in forbearance, you would have to reapply as soon as you can in the next week or two for forbearance, because it would have to be specifically for this new term of service as a VISTA. Melinda, any other questions on the phone?
No further questions at this time.
If you are in at least a situation where you already requested loan forbearance and the loan provider hasn't heard anything yet, first I would recommend go back to your MyAmericorps account to see if the request was accepted or denied. If it was accepted, then you don't really have to worry about anything, because oftentimes what happens is the people you call to ask about the loan forbearance might be very different people than our National Service Trust connects with to approve the forbearance. So first check your MyAmericorps account to see if the request was approved, and then second, if it was, you're all set. If it wasn't approved, then you can look up the reason why and move on from there. I think we'll take 2 more questions and then we'll move on. Can we use the education award for continuing education, not necessarily grad school? Yes, again, as long as it's a Title IV institution. If it's continuing education, that sounds great. And the final question.
Once you are activated for service is when you'll be able to access the page to be able to request forbearance. So if you're not seeing that yet, it's because you are not yet activated.
And again, you can keep your questions coming. We'll be getting to more questions at the end of the presentation, but we'll get one more question in.
Okay, I'm seeing a question. Does the VISTA year count as a year in public service? Yes, it does count.
Great. So we'll continue to answer them in the Q&A and get to them at the end of the presentation, but we do have a few more things to cover that are really, really important. So moving on, quickly looking at the my.americorps.gov account, we talk about that a lot with student loans and education award. We know we've looked at some of those benefits, and as we mentioned, you'll access them through your favorite website in the world. So let's look at your online account to show you that once you are activated, about 2 weeks from now, you will see some new options. I wish we could have a little person walking across the screen and pointing like Vanna White, but we can't do that. So if you relocated to serve, be sure to update your address by clicking on Edit My Contact Information. Please make sure the email address you use is one that you check on a regular basis. If you do have a .edu school email address, find out if you will still have access to that account, as it might have expired. Make sure it's an active email address so that our my.americorps.gov system is our system of record. So now let's go through some of the links on the left menu.
All right, so in My Living Allowance, in that link, you'll be able to access and print your biweekly living allowance statements. Since they're not mailed to you, this is a really good benefit. If you are paid by a grant, however, your living allowance statements will not appear here. You will click on the My Tax Statements link to access your W-2 year wage statements and your 1099 miscellaneous form, if you receive one, for filing taxes next January. In the My Service Letter link, you can access 3 service letters to certify that you are a VISTA member. One is to define income disregard, and more to use when applying for public assistance. If you have selected the Education Award, you'll also have a My Education Award link. This is where you will submit loan forbearance requests, later submit Education Award and interest accrual payment requests, and keep track of the status of those requests as well. If you have additional questions about your benefits at any time during your service, the VISTA Member Support Unit, or VMSU, is who you call regarding benefits. They also are who you call if you need help with your MyAmericorps.gov account and general assistance. To reach the VMSU, you need to contact the National Service Hotline. We've just covered a lot of information, and it is likely that you'll have questions in the coming weeks, so keep this contact information handy so that you can find it when you have a question. This information can also be found on the VISTA campus.
It's time now for terms and conditions. Woo! We know you were excited to take the terms and conditions online, but we really want to make sure everyone is clear on the conditions. So we're going to do a quick interactive activity to review the main conditions of your AmeriCorps VISTA service, where VISTAs tend to have some questions. We're going to read off a series of statements and scenarios. Please use the same annotation tools we used earlier on the map to place your arrow in either the yes or the no section of the screen as we read the statement. Survey says, wait for it, okay, go. I can voice my political opinion using social media where I am identified as an AmeriCorps VISTA member. As you can see people are doing, select whether you think the answer is yes or if you think the answer is no. I see Thomas is really smart. He's on the line saying, I could go either way. Oh, he moved. I saw that, Thomas. So it looks like most people unfortunately got this answer wrong, but there's no, well, there's the wrong answer. So the answer is yes. You can voice your political opinions on your own time, but not while serving at your site, nor using any of the equipment at your site, including their Wi-Fi network. You must keep your political action limited to your off-duty hours, and be very cautious with any political activity to avoid violating the Hatch Act. You cannot represent yourself as a spokesperson for AmeriCorps, VISTA, or CNCS, and you can also not represent yourself as a spokesperson for your sponsor. So please do not include the VISTA logo on your social media profile if you will be engaging in political activity. Again, if you do have specific questions about this, read the Hatch Act, and definitely be sure to consult your site office because, again, we want to make sure to protect you as well as your sponsor from any prohibited activities.
All right, so let's get to another statement. Let's see what y'all think about this one. I can demonstrate in a political rally. Slight lag, there it is. I can demonstrate in a political rally. Please place your arrow in either yes or no. Let's see. We like stumped them last time. Now there's like
we got one person who's by themselves.
Two people, 3 people, 2 now. Emily's like slowly inching over and then back.
If you guys have ever seen Finding Nemo,
yeah.
Seeing all the arrows look like the school of fish in Finding Nemo just moving across the screen. It's kind of awesome.
This is awesome.
Okay, now you can stop.
So the answer is yes, as long as you are not identified as a VISTA member or perceived to be a VISTA member. So when I say perceived to be a VISTA member, I know that there are some of you that may be serving in a very small town or a local area And you might not be necessarily wearing your VISTA polo or any other VISTA gear, but people know that you are a VISTA member. And so when in doubt about specific activity, consult with your state office first.
Next question. Let's see if you guys can get another one correct. I can ask people to donate money to a partisan political candidate as long as it's on my own time and I'm not identified as a VISTA member. See a couple of yeses, a couple of no's, one or two, I'm not entirely sure what on earth I'm doing. That was how I was, but I'm better now. Wow, this is a pretty even split. Oh, someone drew a heart. That's really sweet. We love you too. The answer to this question as we move forward is, let's see who got this right. Survey says no. You cannot raise money on behalf of a partisan political candidate at any time during your VISTA service year. It does not matter if it's off-duty or at home or even while not as identified as a VISTA member. The Hatch Act, H-A-T-C-H, you can Google it if you don't know what it is, prohibits all fundraising for partisan political candidates. You can, however, raise funds in support of an issue on your own time and not identified as a VISTA member.
All right, let's go with the fourth. I can join my colleagues in prayer at my service site. Yes or no? Wow, pretty split here. I'm seeing some arrows and lines and boxes.
I know.
I'm also seeing that someone else is named Khadija. You're the best. Yes, the answer is yes, you can, but you cannot proselytize or ask people to pray with you. Also, while your VAD cannot ask you to pray, you are free to practice your religion.
Only a couple of questions left, so we're almost done. We're going to go to double jeopardy now. The money's worth twice as much. I can have outside employment and or earn additional income while serving as a VISTA member. Money, 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 money. Okay, I'm going to stop singing because I probably should not. So it looks like everyone, I appreciate the sad face. I'm going to pretend that was for my singing, and I appreciate that because I'm not a good singer. But it looks like everyone got this answer correct. So we're going to move forward and say yes, you are allowed to have outside employment while serving as a VISTA, but there are a few key policy items to keep in mind. It must not conflict with your VISTA service. Outside employment must be separate from your service. Again, as a VISTA is your primary responsibility. Your outside employment also must not conflict with any applicable law or AmeriCorps VISTA program requirements or policies. Also, you may not be employed by your sponsor or any agency affiliated with your sponsor. Under no circumstances may a VISTA member be an employee of or a contractor of the same agency where they're serving as a VISTA. And finally, your supervisor has to approve. There's a form, as you can see on the screen. You can go to the VISTA campus website. You have to fill out this form if you have or are planning to get outside employment, because the supervisor must agree that your outside work will not interfere with the VISTA project. If it does interfere, the VISTA will likely be asked to either end the outside employment or end your VISTA service, and we don't want that to happen. Again, more information, you can go to the website that's listed on the screen.
Need a refresher? I love this owl. If you have any questions about what the limitations on political activities are for you as a VISTA member and other regulations and laws regarding your service, such as the Hatch Act that Eric mentioned, please revisit the Terms and Conditions course and view Chapter 14 of the VISTA Member Handbook.
Getting a little bit more serious, but quickly going through this, we know we just talked about what is expected of you. So now let's quickly talk about your rights and responsibilities. Prior to starting VISTA service, you should have taken the Civil Rights and Responsibilities course on the VISTA campus. To briefly recap the course, If you believe that you have experienced or witnessed discrimination or harassment, and if you feel safe and comfortable doing so, you should, in particular order, first approach and talk to the person you suspect of engaging in harassing or discriminating behavior, and you should do that yourself. But if that doesn't work, or if you do not feel safe and comfortable doing so, you can talk to your VISTA supervisor who's there to support you. If for whatever reason you cannot go to your supervisor, or if you do and the matter is not resolved to your satisfaction, you should be sure to contact your state office. Finally, you do have the ability to contact the corporation's Office of Civil Rights and Inclusiveness, or OCRI, as you can see on the screen. In a similar but different route, AmeriCorps VISTA is a federal program, and like anything supported by taxpayer funds, we need to ensure that the VISTA program is well run, doing what it's supposed to, and spending federal dollars wisely. Like all federal agencies, CNCF has an Inspector General whose office is responsible for preventing and detecting waste, fraud, and abuse. So there are a few red flags to be aware of. If you are being asked to take over the work of someone who left, that's considered replacing staff, and that's not allowed. Or, if most of what you're doing is administrative support, answering the phone 7 hours a day, or making copies 5 hours a day, that's also not appropriate work for a VISTA member. You should be focusing on the things outlined in your VAD, which ties directly to the overall project plan that was approved by CNCF. Finally, the majority of your work should be capacity building, not direct service. You will be learning more about what these look like in the coming days. Again, if you do feel that you are being asked to do things that you are not appropriate for VISTA members, first talk about it with your supervisor. From there, you can talk with your corporation's state office, and if the issue is not resolved, or if you want to remain anonymous, you may contact the CNCF Office of Inspector General.
At this time, we want to remind you of a few sources of support as you move further into your VISTA experience. Your supervisor should be your first contact for any questions related to your VAD or workplace, and if your project has a VISTA leader, and not all projects do, he or she can be a resource to you as well. The Corporation for National and Community Service, or CNCS, has representatives in every state and territory, working in corporation state offices. They can handle issues related to your VISTA sponsor, supervisor, or emergencies that may affect your service. For your PSO blend, your online classroom facilitator is also available to support you in completing your blend assignments. And as we mentioned earlier, the VISTA Member Support Unit, or VMSU, helps with questions about benefits. They also help with other matters related to your my.americorps.gov account. And you can manage your own support by taking time to navigate the vistacampus.gov website and my.americorps.gov. Make sure to familiarize yourself with them and know where to go. When in doubt, contact the VMSU through the National Service Hotline. This information is on the VISTA campus. Search support and keep it where you can find it.
One of the absolute greatest things about being a VISTA member is being part of the wonderful family of AmeriCorps VISTA, like Khadijah and myself, not that we're bragging. And as a VISTA community member, we want to show your VISTA pride. You never know where you may be able to make a connection with someone else who knows about the program. I'll quickly add a note. Sometimes I walk around with a VISTA button or a VISTA lapel pin, and periodically I get people who will say, you know, I served in the second or third class of VISTA back in 1966 or 1980, and it's really cool just to share that story and have that pride. So we want you to have that as well. Put the AmeriCorps VISTA logo on your business card if you get them, in your email signature, and on your organization's website and brochures. The more visible you are, the more support you get for your project and for the AmeriCorps VISTA program as a whole, and the more you can celebrate yourself and the great work you're doing, not in a selfish way, but in a way to celebrate the work that VISTAs do. That means more VISTA members and communities doing the work we need to get done. The website links in the chat panel lead to places you can get AmeriCorps VISTA publications and gear to use in your office and represent VISTA in the field. Don't forget to take pictures and share them with us through our Twitter and Facebook accounts. We get really excited when we're able to share your story or retweet your photo. Also, once you complete the PSO blend, and we want all of you to complete it successfully, You will receive an email with instructions on how to order your free, yes, I did say free, VISTA polo shirt, lapel pin, and reusable tote bag. But again, you will get an email once you complete the blend to order these free gifts.
All right, so here are a few reminders about things you need to do as part of your entry into the VISTA program. Review your VISTA benefits and know how to assess them, especially your healthcare benefit. Make sure you have healthcare and health coverage or get documentation of your exemption from the requirement. Do both of these at healthcare.gov. Enroll in a VISTA Health benefit option. Remember, you'll be getting an email from IMG with a link to enroll. And get fingerprinted, preferably this week, and submit criminal history questionnaires, if applicable. You should have your fingerprinting materials already, but if you do not, get them from your supervisor.
So as we move a little bit towards the end of the presentation, you guys already know this information since it's in your guide to entering VISTA service and in your VISTA classroom. But once again, we want to remind you that it's essential that you put these dates on your calendar because we do not want you to fall behind and not complete the PSO blend, which could result in you being removed from service. So just a quick reminder, this coming Sunday, you have a couple of things due: the comprehension check quiz, the minute intro, how poverty is measured, and your VAD worksheet. Next Wednesday, September 20th, 3 p.m. Eastern Time, your first required virtual meetup. Next Sunday, September 24th, 2 more items due: your 13 lessons about poverty and your community profile. That following Wednesday, September 27th, again at 3 p.m. Eastern, your second required virtual meetup. And then finally, your PSO blend finishes on Friday, September 29th with your final assignments. We want to remind you that these assignments and the virtual meetups are all required and mandatory, but the good thing is they will enable you to further understand your service and the VISTA program, how your service fits into poverty, and really get to know each other in the virtual meetups.
We're now going to take some questions from you, but before we do so, I'll mention the evaluation poll that is now open on the right side of your screen. Please take a moment to answer the 10 questions. You'll need to use the scroll bar to see them all.
So we're now almost at the end, so just hang on for a few more minutes. You do have one more chance to get your questions answered. We know there were several questions our fabulous team behind the scenes were answering in the Q&A panel. But if there's anything that we haven't yet covered, excuse me, you can post them in the Q&A panel, and we'll ask Melinda one more time to give us instructions on how to ask questions over the phone. Melinda?
Thank you. And once again, please press *1 at this time for your questions. One moment, please.
I like that it's called star because it makes me think of nighttime, and nighttime is really cool. That was a random comment, so I will stop talking and look at the Q&A panel. Kessa, if you could retype your question, you said, where do we get them? I'm not sure what that is in reference, so if you could quickly retype your question, we will get an answer to you. Michaela, I'm assuming the websites you're asking about were the websites for the links to the VISTA gear, the VISTA publications. So I'll ask Scott, Joanne, or Jessica if you quickly have access to repost the links on the free publications or the VISTA gear that they can purchase. If you could repost those in the chat, that would be great. Elisa asks about Facebook. We as AmeriCorps VISTA have one official Facebook page, so you can certainly go to the VISTA campus and click on the link to join our Facebook page. But you certainly are welcome to create a Facebook group, or if your virtual meetup wants to have a Facebook group that's connected to AmeriCorps VISTA, you're certainly welcome to do that. How do I turn my assignments in? Those are all done through vistaclassroom.educationnorthwest.org. It's not the VISTA campus, it's the VISTA classroom. When you log in, you'll see all the assignments listed and the way to submit them that way. But please make sure to adhere to the deadlines. That's what I'm trying to say.
I'm seeing a lot of questions about social media and whether or not you should post that you're in AmeriCorps VISTA. If you know that you already post a lot about political activity or things of that nature, I would advise that you keep your Facebook separate from your AmeriCorps VISTA status.
I see another question, which generally the question is, even though the assignments are due most of the time on a Sunday, can you do them early? Yes, you don't have to wait till Sunday, and we actually recommend you do them early because some of the assignments require you to partner with your supervisor, and most VISTAs do not serve on Saturday and Sunday since most offices are open Monday through Friday, so please try to get them done during your service day because they are actually part of your VISTA service and approved to be VISTA service appropriate.
Then question about polos. Where do I get the polo? You will be sent instructions on how to order your polo once you've successfully completed your PSO blend. So be on the lookout for those instructions as they'll be coming shortly.
Melinda, do you have any questions queued up on the phone?
We have one question from Natasha Gibson. Your line is open.
Hello, hi. I was calling to ask about the oath, the swearing oath, and how that's going to be processed through the webinar.
If you have my email, Tasha, I'm Eric Powell. If you just respond to that or send me an email, I'll be able to answer your question directly.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So let's see, I see a couple of other. Is the IMG email going to come automatically? Yes. Again, it takes about a week, maybe 2 weeks maximum, but the International Medical Group should be emailing the email address that's in your my.americorps.gov account, which is why we strongly recommend you make sure it's an active working email address.
I'm seeing a lot of folks asking questions about part-time jobs that they had prior to beginning AmeriCorps VISTA service, and the answer is yes. You still need to make sure that you get your supervisor to approve those because we want to make sure that you are, not maxing out in terms of capacity with both your part-time job and your VISTA service. We want to make sure that you're prioritizing VISTA.
Another question about healthcare. If we are expecting to use the healthcare allowance, can we expect to have it available as of 9/12? So yes, technically, as we said, the $7,150 is available to VISTAs who currently have health insurance and are requesting reimbursement for out-of-pocket expenses. It is available officially starting September 12th. It just might take a few extra days for the International Medical Group to activate it and get that money to you. But yes, it is officially available to you. Melinda, any other questions on the phone?
We do. Natasha Gibson, your line is open.
I'm sorry again. I just don't want to reiterate, but I was confused about the VISTA campus / VISTA classroom. That was very confusing in the beginning for me. I missed, well, actually I didn't miss, but when I went to VISTA campus, I was on and I pushed play. I just watched, it wasn't a live recording, but I, watched the video. And I had to be given an assignment, a makeup assignment, but with the assignment is my oath. The second part is signing my oath. I only have 48 hours, so what do you recommend me to do today?
So first, Tasha, I believe I emailed you today. If not, I'll follow up with you after this webinar on that second piece. But on the first piece, to clarify for everyone, the VISTA Classroom website is something that you're only using for the 3 weeks of the PSO blend. So you log into vistaclassroom.educationnorthwest.org to do all of your PSO blend assignments and your virtual meetups. The vistacampus.gov is the website you'll use the entire year of service for professional development, for webinars, for communicating with VISTA. So they are two separate websites, similar names, but very different purposes. Melinda, I think you said there was another call on the line?
Actually showing no further questions at this time.
Okay.
I'm seeing a question, where do I get the criminal history questionnaire? So each of you should have received your fingerprint kit on your first day of service, but if you have not, you need to contact your supervisor so that they can get that information or get that kit to you. Inside that kit is 2 fingerprint cards as well as instructions for how to get those fingerprint cards to us. And there's also a member disclosure form or criminal history questionnaire within that as well. And if you have a criminal history that you did not disclose on your application, that is the place where you would do it. And when you are mailing your fingerprints to us, you would include that criminal history questionnaire so that we can file that as well.
There's been a couple of questions about the minute intro, which is that short message where you introduce yourself and talk about VISTA. We strongly would like it to be a video, partially because it's a way for you to see and get to know other VISTAs, and we can see the video and the audio. But there were some people that asking, if we don't want to do the video, can we just do an audio? My recommendation is that since you have to log into the online VISTA classroom anyways, send a note to your facilitator, because they're the ones who are ultimately looking at all of these assignments and making sure they're up to snuff and up to speed. So I would say it shouldn't be a problem, but definitely send a message to your facilitator today just to let them know what your concerns or questions are, and they can advise you if there's another option that would better fit the policy. And we have about 2 minutes left, so we'll just quickly go through any other questions we see. Where do you turn in assignments for PSO? VISTAclassroom.educationnorthwest.org. What is the fee? I don't understand. Tasha or Tasia, I don't understand your question, but if you want to repost the question or email me, I'll be able to take care of that. And see if there's any other questions.
I'm seeing, do you guys have a 401k? So this VISTA service is not employment, and there are no 401k options.
How do I know if my oath was received? Again, there's 400 people. If you emailed it correctly to vmsu@cns.gov, they have it. But if you really feel concerned, you can certainly email them again and ask. It does take a while for them to check to verify because there's so many people, but generally the rule of thumb is they will reach out to you by the end of the week or by Monday if they have not received it. Melinda, one last check on the phone. Do you see any questions coming in?
We do. We have one question that came through from Shannon Williams. Your line is open.
Okay, I have kind of a weird question. You said something about how the end of service education award is not transferable to anybody else. But what if in the case of like my death, if something happened to me, would I be able to, how would my son be covered? Like would I be able to change that over to the money, or like how would that work?
So I'm going to answer it a slightly different way because I think it'll clarify this topic. So the reason why when VISTAs fill out their my.americorps.gov account and they do the direct deposit, the tax withholding, and then at the bottom there's this field called unpaid compensation or designation of beneficiary. So that section is specifically in case, we hope it doesn't happen, but in case you were to pass away, where would any remaining benefits go to, whether it's one person or multiple people? So that's essentially what that field is for.
Okay, would, but in that case, would the education fund transferable, or is it still not transferable no matter what?
Typically, no. I'll try to follow up and get you an answer, but I know the education award is not transferable, so typically not. But if you want to email me, I can certainly get an answer. I'll certainly get an answer for you by tomorrow or Monday.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm seeing a lot of questions about getting additional assistance to travel to and from site. There is no VISTA-specific benefit to assist with these sorts of commutes, but your project site may have those funds available to you, and that is a question that you should raise with your supervisor.
So I know there's a few more questions. Our staff will be in the Q&A for a few more minutes on the webinar answering questions, but we are going to officially end just because we are at the 90-minute time frame, so we want to be mindful of your time and ours as well. So I'll begin the closing by saying thank you all so much for the great questions. Again, if we didn't get to your question, we'll be on for a few more minutes so you can post it in the Q&A and our staff will respond. But we do want to, again, officially welcome you to the amazing AmeriCorps VISTA program and service and wish you much success. And we'll leave you with this quote from Lyndon Johnson. Your pay will be low, the conditions of your labor will often be difficult, but you will have the satisfaction of leading a great national effort, and you will have the ultimate reward which comes to those who serve their nation and their fellow man. Thank you again for stepping up to commit at least a year of service, and we look forward to talking to you soon.
Thank you.